Hello and welcome to another episode of Below the Fold. In this special episode, it's our quarantine edition. Brandon's at his home, Paxton's at the office, I'm at the office, but nobody's here. Is anyone over there, Pax? Or are you by yourself pretty much?
No, there's a handful of people here, but not a lot.
Well, you got a big, thick piece of glass to separate you from them. Okay, so we just want to get together. We were hoping to do this a little bit sooner than we are, but Paxton had a baby and was out, and now he's back in it, and so we're excited to kind of get back together and put together a special show and see how this works. Maybe this will become a more regular format for us. Anyway. Let's start with chatting about where we've been the last couple months.
I feel like you've had the most interesting story.
You think I do?
Yeah.
Well, we can start there if you want.
That's my hunch.
It's as if you're my friend and know about my life.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, so COVID-19 devastated the company I was working at. So I was working at Connect. I don't know how many episodes we had actually before this. Did we only do one episode? Two? I think we recorded two, but one didn't go live.
We had at least two that went live.
I thought it was more than that. I'm pretty sure it was like three.
Okay, well, two or three. So people who have listened historically would know that I left Vivint back in September. I started a new job at Connect, which is a business texting platform. They've been around for a couple of years, but still were relatively small. Well, in March, when COVID really hit, they did cutbacks. I think 20% of the company got laid off, and all of digital, which was just me at the time, was let go. So for almost 2 months, I was unemployed, which honestly was like, I mean, it was hard because I was lonely, but I got a lot done. And it was actually a positive experience. Well, now I'm back in the Vivint family, and I'm working for Vivint Solar, running their digital marketing department. So it was actually a major upgrade from where I was at, and I'm thrilled. I mean, lots and lots to do here, and I'm sure it'll come up every once in a while on the podcast. Was that interesting, Brandon?
That was interesting. Were you ever tempted at any time during the time off, so to speak, to start something new, or to be like, this is my chance to go all in on this idea or whatever?
Yeah, a little bit.
Like some people start podcasts. Like I just like look at a lot of people. I'm like, oh, I'm starting a podcast. I'm starting this. Like everyone's like all those little itches they've had. They've kind of just like, this is my time to do that.
Yeah, it almost feels like you're trying to lead me somewhere.
No, I was not actually. I was not thinking that originally, and then halfway through, I was like, "Oh yeah, I think there was something that was not my intention."
Well, this isn't really secret because our first episode this year, although I may have thrown away our first episode where we were talking about our resolutions and what we want to do.
Maybe our first episode this year was do Super Bowl commercials pay off? So we've had 3 that went live, and then 1 that's been recorded but has not gone live yet.
So the first one we actually recorded, the very first one, was a New Year's one, and I hated it, and so we didn't air that one. And I remember in that episode I talked about wanting to start a software company this year. And so I started the process of doing that. And during the 2 months I was out, I kind of pushed harder to get more stuff done. That's still out there. I'm not quite ready to go public with a lot of that information yet, but people who are listening can get a little bit of a preview and just know that there's a little something that I'm working on the side that they can look forward to in the coming months. But yeah, as I said, I was trying to stay as productive as possible, and wasn't 100% successful. I think a little bit of a depression set in for a little bit, but now that the world is starting at the early stages of getting back to normal, there's a little bit of hope.
And was the depression because you're more of an extrovert personality and you just like have the need to physically be around people? Or was it like uncertain times kind of thing?
No, well, maybe a little bit of both. I think it was mostly the isolation. I'm not built for quarantine. That was really, really hard for me. My batteries were drained, and I just need to be around people to energize me. But anyway, enough about me. Other things have happened. Brandon, look at his new home office. This
has happened before.
I was going to say, I don't think that's new, is it?
I mean, the chair's new.
Not just the chair, you've been building this out. No one's seen it. You haven't recorded a video for the podcast. Nobody has seen this.
That's true.
Except for, 40,000 of your YouTube subscribers.
Well,
but
yeah.
You also started a Twitch channel and you're streaming.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's a COVID update.
Yeah, I guess. It was going to happen regardless. It was just kind of part of the timeline of like, okay, I'll start doing Twitch streaming then. But some streams are better than others. But yeah, the whole stay-at-home type stuff has definitely motivated me to get a better chair. I was using a chair, which is back there. It's like $50 chair I got in 2014. Comfy chair. But man, when you're sitting all day, 8 hours for work, and then you've got, you're doing some like maybe YouTube stuff on the side at night, and then doing some gaming on top of that, it's a lot of hours in the chair. So I finally invested in a better chair. I actually used an affiliate link from one of our interns here, Tariq, at 97th Floor. So I think the affiliate program's terrible. He gets like a spray bottle to like wash his chair down or something like that. I thought he was going to get like $100 or something like that, but kind of a lame program. But yeah, this whole thing, I feel like it's been nice for me. Like, I don't know. I feel bad because it's like this whole COVID-19 has been like the best time ever. Like mortgage rates have dropped so low. It's like, I'm going to save like $400 a month on my mortgage.
Refinance?
Yeah, we're finishing it up, but like I closed on this house at like the peak. It was like 4.625 or something like that, and right now it's 3.1.
Still kind of low.
It's still low
in
the grand scheme of things. I feel like I saw this tweet and someone was like, if you have not refinanced right now and you're able to, you're like basically wiping your butt with money every single day. So I was like, I guess I got to do it. And everyone I know.
It depends though on
it does depend.
How long you're going to stay in the house. I'm also at 3.6, I think.
3.6. Yeah. That's a little, I've read the rule of thumb is like, you should at least save 1%. And then also closing costs, like whatever you spend in closing costs, you should be able to like basically make that back in the first 5 years. If it's going to take more than 5 years, it's probably not. So I've been like reading a bunch of stuff and I was like, yeah, it's a no-brainer. And I've only been in this.
Start the clock over.
Yeah, which I've only been in this house for like a year. So like the clock starts a year.
When you refinance, is it that you're refinancing the amount that you owe left on your house, or are you refinancing for the total value of your house?
Total value of the house.
So like, let's pretend that your house is worth $400,000 and you owe $200,000 and you refinance. Do they give you a check for $200,000 and then you make payments on a $400,000 loan?
Well, it depends on. So if I owe $200,000, man, my mind is like, I need my caffeine.
Oh, all of a sudden we ask some hard questions and it's caffeine.
It is. It is. Numbers, I have always sucked at numbers, like on the spot kind of stuff, even like basic stuff. But yeah, like if my home comes in, they're like, all right, your home's valued at $400,000 and you have, and you owe $200,000 left, or is it you owe $200,000, then I get, oh gosh, why am I having a hard time thinking about this right now? Oh, give me a minute. My brain is fried right now.
That's okay. I'll look this up.
This is sad. I had this all figured out with my other numbers.
So you refinance, though, is the point.
Yes. And then basically the dumb thing to do is like cash out refinance. That's usually where it's like a bad idea, right? People have a bunch of debt, so they refinance. They put all that cash towards like credit cards and crap like that. Or they take it out and they put it towards like, oh, I'm going to build a deck outside, or I'm going to do this. That's where it's like just take the extra equity that your home has increased in and then put that cash towards your loan. So, yeah, that's kind of what it is. Even if you don't get any cash back, just refinancing it, like it's so low right now. Mine was so much higher that even if I didn't have any equity, I would.
So what's your rate at right now?
My current rate is 4.625.
No, I mean the new one.
The new one's 3.1 something.
Yeah, that's incredible. I'm at 3.85, I think 3.75, something like that. So I'm not going to do it, but saving $400 a month, that's pretty good.
It's already dropped just 2 weeks ago. It was 3.25 when I reached out, and then now it's already went to 3.1. So now I'm like, do I keep waiting before I lock it in, or is it going to go back up?
Speculation is that we're going to reach negative interest rates by January of next year.
So they'll be paying me to buy a house.
Well, it's the Fed negative interest rates, but that would equal much lower, even lower mortgage rates.
Yeah, banks usually add 3% to it. Anyway, yeah, that's now from a marketing perspective, it's been chaos. Just like trying to get, I mean, one of our big missions at 90 Cent Floor is really to try to be like a beacon, a voice in, you know, in these kind of uncertain times from a marketing perspective. You know, 90 Cent Floor was super successful in 2008 during that recession, which was the Great Recession, I think it's called. Which I would do nothing about that recession, probably because,
because you were a little baby.
You were like 16 years old.
No, I was out on my mission. So like, I don't know, like I didn't have finances. It's just like, I just teach about religion all day.
About Jesus.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's been busy from that aspect and whatnot. But yeah, for me, from a personal aspect, it's been great. And I'm the opposite of Jacob, where the alone time is not a bad thing. I loved it at first, and then I went through a phase where I was like, man, I got to get back in the office. This is like getting old. I don't know if it was like getting this chair or what, but now I'm just like, I think I finally like adapted to where I was like, oh yeah, I could like, I just wake up and I think like I can go for a run. I can go from a run to shower to a meeting within like half an hour. And that's very difficult from driving in. But I still like, there are days of stuff where I want to go in and whatnot, but that part I'm surprisingly have adapted in that area. And it kind of sounds like
coming from a company where you can work from home whenever you want. It seems like it wouldn't be as much of an adjustment.
Yeah, it wasn't an adjustment. I mean, for some it was. I already had like a home office that I've been building for who knows how long. Whereas other people, they go home and it's like, I've got my bed and like a fridge to put my laptop on. And that's like what they work off of. And so for those people, it's a totally different ball game.
Yeah,
but everything for me, like everyone's been healthy. Everything's been cheap. I go to a drive-through. Oh, now I can't go through a drive-through because the lines are crazy. But during that time, if you got takeout, it was like a dream. You roll right up. They give you your food.
Yeah.
You leave. It was just like, man, this is amazing. I wish people weren't dying so I could like feel better about this. But a lot of things to take advantage of during that time.
Yeah, and on the agenda for today, in the next few minutes, we'll get to it, talking about what our thoughts are on what it's going to be like when things kind of go back to the new normal. But I'm looking outside my office right now, and there's literally just like a field of empty space, and nobody's here. I'm terrified that companies, well, at least the company I work for, I don't care about other companies, are just going to say, all right, well, this has worked out so well. We're gonna stay work from home, and I'm just gonna basically replace loneliness at home for loneliness at work. But we'll get to that. So Pax, despite the fact that I was unemployed and going through some weird stuff, you probably had the most drastic change in the last little while. Tell us about what you've been through while you tour the office.
A lot. This tour of a bunch of empty desks. Everyone's at home. I think it's just me and my brother here today, actually. So we had a baby right in the middle of the height of the pandemic.
COVID baby.
It was, I think our daughter was born like 2 days after the earthquake. Now it was like a time of, I would say like probably the most panic that people were feeling, including myself.
Yeah, I think you're right. Actually, there was a lot of anxiety there. End of world stuff.
The day the earthquake happened, I was just like, pandemic, earthquake. I went out and bought a generator, I bought a freezer, I bought tons of water, and I was just like, I got to take care of this family and this brand new baby that's coming. Like, I'm going to do whatever I can to protect my family, you know? And I don't think it's as bad as I was feeling like it was back then. So I think that for me has been the most negative side, is just the envisioning societal collapse. You know, that those thoughts have entered my head a lot, much more a month and a half ago than recently. More recently though, I've been really loving my situation. You know, there's a lot of work for me to do, but I find that working from home, my kids have started to learn, like, I don't have an office. I work in like a little alcove, so there's no like privacy and no walls and stuff. So that's rough. But my kids learn not to come bother me usually when I'm like in a meeting and stuff. But then I get to mix it throughout the day. Like, you know, I'll have lunch with them, or I'll go play with them if I don't have a meeting or something I need to be doing. And then I've been also doing just like a crap ton of gardening, like so much gardening. I have a really giant vegetable garden I built, and yeah, we're growing like corn, spinach, lettuce, peas, beans, carrots, tomatoes, zucchini, peppers, garlic, strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, like all this food.
Wow.
And, it's been awesome. Like, just getting outside and like doing hard work with my hands has been super therapeutic for me. I've enjoyed that a lot.
That's awesome. Yeah. I've been doing some weeding.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the same.
Yeah. That's the same.
That's awesome. So what about from a work standpoint?
Yeah, I was going to say,
how has this all affected things over there?
Yeah, surprisingly not much. I mean, some leads, like new leads come in, like we were in the middle of deals and they started freaking out, and those kind of went cold. Overall, new leads are probably down. But we haven't had to lay anybody off. I don't foresee us having to lay anybody off. I mean, we might let people go, but just for normal reasons that have nothing to do with coronavirus. So yeah, it's been surprisingly calm, I would say, over here. I was out for 6 weeks, kind of. I was still doing some meetings. But for the past 3 weeks, I've been back and I've been doing one-on-ones with people, and it's interesting. They're doing some of the best work they've ever done. Like, our clients many of them are like at all-time highs. They're really happy. Like, every week I get messages from clients about like how pumped they are with their team. And I think that's maybe a combination of clients appreciate the success more during this time when they can see others not having success. I think that's probably a factor. And then the team, everyone's just like, at least on the fulfillment side, I haven't had much contact with individual like sales team members or people on Brandon's team. But on the fulfillment side, people are just like super happy. And like, I always pop in and I check in with people. Like, I usually check in with 3 to 5 people every day. And I was expecting to have to be like, hey, it's going to be okay. We're going to get through this. Like, do you need anything? And everyone's just like, nope, I'm awesome. Like, this is, and today our office officially is back to normal. And it's just me and Spencer here. So I don't think a lot of people are dying to come back in. I think they've found kind of their rhythm that works with them, and the results prove that it's like working. So whatever. I mean, I'm someone who likes to come to an office like full of people, but I prefer even more than that to get good results for our clients.
So that's a pretty good transitional period or
topic.
Have you guys changed tactics at all? I mean, what I'm hearing and seeing is that like the marketplace is from like a paid perspective is a lot cheaper because a lot of companies are pulling out. So the bids are a lot lower.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that has something to do with your ability to leverage success for clients? And is it temporary?
So overall, my opinion for most clients, and this is like general, for like others, like there are weird specific situations for sure, but in general, what clients should be doing is taking advantage of the lower cost per click that they can see right now. Also, search volume for a lot of SEO keywords are going up. So overall, traffic is going up, but purchases are going down. Conversions are going down. So the two things that I think most people should do, or three things I should say, is take advantage of the cheaper prices on the increase in traffic. Acknowledge that that's not going to lead right now to increased conversions, but improve your conversion rate optimization in order to squeeze as much juice from that lemon as possible. And then invest heavily in email marketing to capture names and email addresses of that higher amount of volume, so that 3 months from now, when purchases start to go up, or 6 months or whenever, you're sitting on this giant pile of names and email addresses that you can then market to through email marketing.
Yeah, I think that's great. What about you, Brandon? Have you changed any of your tactics to get more leads?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of it is it's just more of like a shift in direction. A lot of it is like just industry specific. I think it's one of the advantages that 90 Cent Floor has had, to where, you know, there's some agencies where they kind of niche down in like 3 areas. It's like, we do marketing for education companies, we do it for dental offices, cruise, whatever. I mean, imagine if we like niche down in the travel industry and then this hit, like we would lose 80+% of our clients. But because we have a pretty diverse portfolio of clients, yeah, some are going to struggle. I mean, we have one of the biggest cruise companies in the world still sticking with us. Obviously they're getting hit, but man, if we were all traveled, it'd be crazy. So what we've been really doing is just looking at a lot of outside reports coming in on what industries are having the most layoffs and which industries are having the most growth. The financial industry is growing right now. Health and wellness is growing. Like, a lot of people are paying more attention to their health than they are now. I mean, you can't even buy, like, it's so hard. I want so bad to buy like a set of dumbbells or something, and all the prices are just insane, and the shipping times are so long because everybody's trying to build their own home gym. And I regret, because I was going to pull the trigger on some stuff around like January, and I'll hold off. And then, because usually summertime, like, no one cares, everyone wants to be outdoors. I figured the prices would be cheaper then. That was a bad prediction. But so yeah,
January is not really the best time either. But
it's
that's
not.
probably
Yeah,
why you were holding off.
Yeah, that was my thinking was, it's a little high right now. New Year's resolutions, it's cold outside. Didn't pay off, but life goes on. But yeah, it's been a lot of the same tactics, so to speak. It's just really pushing more, instead of just like broad stuff. It's let's create content for the financial sector. Let's create content for productivity management software, because we're just trying to identify the industries that are doing well and then creating content specifically for them that would attract them. We want to be able to attract people who have money. We still create content. Like, we have one where it's like a COVID-19 marketing checklist, basically, for struggling companies. So whether you're a restaurant or something like that, it just gives you a really good checklist of go through these things and answer these questions and do these things. And it'll just help you out with your marketing, because a lot of people just don't know what to do. I mean, my brother owns a restaurant chain. You both know that. And like, for the first time ever, he's finally been doing like marketing. He's always been resistant because he's like, well, the product's not perfect yet, and I don't want to get people in here. And this has forced him to like, oh, we got to do online ordering. We got to start taking Instagram more seriously. And he's been doing all that, and it's helped a ton. And so my hope is that there's a lot of businesses like that who see the value. Like, marketing, I think, for a lot of people is just kind of like, it's a nice thing to have, a cherry on top. Whereas marketing during these times has been like the difference between surviving or not. And so now that businesses, at least the smaller ones, are seeing that, wow, I've got to market to survive. Hopefully that increases the value of an agency to where we have the resources and the time and the expertise that they don't have, and that we could get them those results without them having to spend 90% of their day. So yeah, we've been doing a lot of experimentation and just a lot of thought leadership, so to speak, of just trying to have a very small voice and really just push. There's just a lot of depressing messaging out there. And I feel like we've been more focused on just pushing positivity. Like, this is the time for businesses to take advantage of stuff. Just like, if you're a homeowner and you have a job and you're seeing these rates go down, like, take advantage of that. Stocks are down. If you have the money to like invest in stocks, it's a fantastic time to invest, because it's going to go up eventually, but not everyone has that luxury. But if you are a company and you have that luxury of, you're Zoom or you're in financial or any of these industries, now's the time to be doubling down on your PPC and doubling down on your SEO. So we're just trying to hit those companies harder. And that's kind of been, I guess, the high level overview of what we've been doing is just trying to go industry specific, and specifically industries that studies are showing to be performing very well.
You know, that's you said a few things that kept like pinging ideas into my head. One, when I lost my job in March, it was easy to blame COVID, right? Like, oh, this whole pandemic is like ruining the market, and it was like this negativity. But at the same time, COVID has created opportunities, and it was because of COVID that the opportunity was created that I got the job at Vivint, which I'm way more excited about, and it's a way better opportunity. So although it was COVID that got me laid off, it also created this opportunity, and it was for that exact reason that you mentioned, which was Vivint Solar. They've relied their entire lifetime, which, I mean, they came around in 2011, on direct to home, on door-to-door sales. Well, when the pandemic hit, they couldn't do that anymore. They couldn't send people out. And so their main source of revenue was cut off. That forced them to look inward and say, wow, we really need to invest in digital. And their digital team was like less than 5 people. So, and their director had just left in October. Their VP left in, I don't know, January, February. And they were left with kind of junior members of the team who didn't have leadership. So that's that opportunity that was created where they're like, wow, we can't do direct to home. We've got to really focus on digital. And now they're doubling, tripling down on digital, hiring people on like me to come in and build out this program, which I foresee, if done correctly, we can prove, hey, like pandemic or no, digital's important. You should be focusing on it. So it's gone from something negative to something, I mean, obviously it's a pandemic. I mean, people are suffering, but it's always good to try to be optimistic and look for the positive. And that's the opportunity that I've been able to find. And people who are suffering, they have found opportunity as well. And being super creative. I mean, you talk about your brother and his restaurant business. He's not the only one who came up with, like, I remember J-Dogs almost immediately coming out with the ability to order online, and they made the take home, make your own pack where you can buy 6 dogs, throw it on your own grill, and you make your own dinner. And I thought that was phenomenal. Huge fan of J-Dogs and what they've done, but that's the kind of stuff that people are having to do, get creative and look for opportunities. I bet they're going to keep that service around long after the pandemic is gone, allowing people to buy these packages. And I think that's what companies are doing. They're getting way more creative and coming up with things that they can do that is going to be long lasting. My wife is a therapist. She owns her own practice, and she was forced to start doing teletherapy. And 100% of her clients had to go on video chat. Well, there's always been this mentality in therapy, at least from her, kind of competing ideals, that it's not real therapy unless it's in person. Like there's a very personal aspect and very intimate and vulnerable thing with therapy that sometimes is lost in the video chat. Well, so she had to start doing that 100%, and crazy thing happened. She was getting way more clients than she was. And now she's talking about maintaining a certain percentage of her time for teletherapy when this is all over, for the people who either don't have access to transportation or just prefer doing it online. So she now has an additional service that she can provide, and that would not have existed had this pandemic not happened. So I think you're right. Both of you are talking about opportunities and being creative in the way that you move forward with not just your marketing, but how you run a business.
Yeah, being able to adapt is huge. And I think of like companies, I mean, Dev Mountain, for example, like they're owned by a very large for-profit education company, which can move faster than like state education, but still it's so big and it adapts so slow with so many legal restraints And I think companies like that can struggle. Like if you have a restrictive environment to where you can't just quickly pivot on stuff like nice in Florida, if we want to have a new, like we can execute tomorrow. We don't have like a giant legal team or anything like that pivoting. So like bigger companies like this, I guess the moral of the story is if you are the David in the David and Goliath fight, like David is stronger than ever right now because David can adapt very quickly. Goliath moves very slow. Goliath's powerful and has a lot of money, but outside of that, like there's not a ginormous advantage that they have. One of my big worries about all of this, and this is not a marketing thing, it's just more of a cybersecurity thing. Like, I think we're already seeing in the industry reports I'm looking at, cybersecurity the demand is going to go up and it's going to keep going up because as you get more and more of the U.S. like economic system online, like everything from therapy to offices, whatnot. I mean, it's a bigger target than ever now for a cyber attack on not just the US, but I think the whole world is adapting. So like, I feel like cybersecurity companies from a marketing perspective are going to have like, their best years are ahead. Also, yeah, it's also just the word like we get hit right now with like, I mean, imagine like if offices just eventually become obsolete and like they're more of just like a place to like go and hang out and get some work done, whatnot. Like imagine if we just like, if we lost internet, because I was even thinking 97th floor, like we have the advantage where things kind of swung in our side a little bit because we are a digital marketing company and the digital world is just getting more and more powerful. What would happen if instead of a virus striking, it was a computer virus and it took down like the whole internet basically in the US? Like how would we even communicate with our teams? How would we pivot as like would we just be screwed? Do we have like a home base where Paxton's like, hey, if internet goes down and you haven't heard from me in 3 days, we meet at this physical location and there we roll out plan B and our new marketing strategy is this. And like we just adapt. Like that's kind of what it's been like for restaurants, to where it's just like the government's coming in saying, nope, you can't operate. I mean, you have drive-through and whatnot, but yeah, I'm just like always thinking about like, okay, what if this swings in the other direction where online and that internet access is the thing that's affected? How does that affect life? I think that's much, much bigger and much more devastating.
If the internet went down, communicating with your team would be the least of your worries as far as your business goes.
Sure. Yeah, I think we'd be screwed. Like that is the biggest attack I feel like you could have. Like it's so much worse than a virus, in my opinion. Maybe that's a controversial thing, but we're screwed if that happens. And it's only going to get worse on that. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. But yeah, for marketing, you always, this has taught me, like we were not prepared for this, but it has made me think of scenarios like what could happen in the future. What would we do if a situation like this happened? We don't have to have a specific plan where we're wasting all of our time creating A, B, and C campaigns for these different situations, but just having the thought in your head of like, how would we adapt and not putting all of your eggs in one basket, basically. And that's a lesson marketers have always been preaching, right? Just don't do only SEO. Don't just do Facebook ads and rely on that. Yeah. But thinking bigger about not just channels, like we often just think of digital channels, but think of like economic situations. How would your marketing adapt? And that's something that I have never thought of before until this. And then now I start to think like, okay, what are other different economic situations that we could face, or just, other attacks or anything like that, how would we get around that?
Well, I think, and I want to be respectful of your time. I know Paxton's got something coming up. We're planning on doing this more often. So I think, so Thursday at 9:30, we're going to be recording again, and it's going to be in the same format. We'll see what happens. This is the first time we've really done this format on Zoom with video. We're going to be publishing this on YouTube, and we'll strip the audio and throw that on the podcast platforms. But if you've enjoyed this episode, we invite you to leave a positive review on iTunes or any of the other podcasting platform that you're listening on. Because it's on YouTube, now you can smash that subscribe button, as Brandon would say. And we'll try to get a little bit more video content out there. This is actually pretty fun. The reason I was always hesitant about doing remote is because it's really hard to capture your body language and just talk through like a normal conversation. But I think this is a pretty good solution. So we'll probably continue to do this. We'll probably be publishing a little bit more frequently. But until next time, we'll catch you below the fold.
Pew pew.
Pew pew pew.